I always love the beginning of going live because like we're currently speaking exclusively to people watching the recording. So hi in the future. We're from the
Hi.
past.
We're from the past
Yeah,
sometime,
it
maybe 20
was
seconds
fine.
ago.
How's the future? I hope better than the past.
Oh, I hope so too.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's kind of great here. I'm not complaining, but
In the present?
in the present, it's great. But looking forward to how the future is for you guys.
Can't wait to hear. Go ahead, let us know in the comments. How's the future? Okay.
Anyway.
And then here's a little tweet for you.
Ooh.
That's this. And then Laura always yells at me that that's a boring tweet because it's the title of the stream, which is not a call to action.
Yeah.
So happy to maybe post the Twitch link instead as a separate tweet. Maybe don't tweet that tweet. What would be a better tweet? This is Marketing Tuesdays when we're going to talk about community in a moment. But
We're talking about community building do's and don'ts with Reka.
join Reka at Reka. What are you?
.eth.
Dot
REKA.
dot? The word dot?
Sorry, underscore. No.
Underscore eth. Oh, hi everyone. And Derek. We're doing the like casual start, tweeting out that we're starting. We're gonna get going in just a moment. As community Buidling. Controversial opinion. Biddle being in all caps every time is a little loud.
It is. It is.
Especially with the hashtag mandatory in front, even on platforms that don't use hashtags. Like email.
Damn. Also, before I started talking to you live, I did not know how that's pronounced. I was just like, okay, that's build with the meme spelling. But
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we
I
actually
never
say
said
biddle.
biddling. Yeah. I did a job interview today.
Smash.
I mean, I was the interviewer.
You did a hiring interview.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, fun story. I hope there's not too behind the scenes. So I joined this team maybe 15 months ago or so, last October or October before last. And within 2 months was in a position to find and bring on an amazing marketer, which is Laura. And so after being here for only 2 months, I was like, first of all, I'm new. And second of all, I've never done hiring. But third of all, you got it, team. And then like found Laura. So when they say fall down the rabbit hole, like one of the things that might be included is having to hire someone right after you get hired. That's apparently
It
one of the
happens.
things. It does happen.
It happens. I feel like that's also very much a founder toolkit thing. Like you have to know how to hire. And I'm very lucky because I'm not the only one having to deal with this. We're a team. We have one of our greatest hires of last year is an HR person. She's amazing. So it's a much easier process. I'm only involved in like second round stuff. It's pretty filtered. It's very not overwhelming.
Not overwhelming. It's nice to have that layer. It was different for us because, I guess to make a long story short, I was like, I'm new here. Don't you want to like sit in on them? Like maybe the second round interviews? And the person who brought me on was like, I'm busy. You just tell me who you think's a good fit. I was like, all right. Zero oversight. All right.
Makes sense. I mean, deep water, or why just swim in the shallow when you can go in really deep really soon? You can just go full ham.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I was mentioning this to you before, but now I can say the like on-air appropriate version, which is to say the part I'm excited about. I was complaining before we hit go live, and now there's another side of that sword, which is the part I'm excited about. So by way of community biddling, which is what we're going to start talking about here, if you want to be a part of the ETH Denver community live at ETH Denver this coming year, which, February 24th to March 5th, then boy, do I have news for you, because as of last night, we announced Camp Biddle, a boot camp for people that want to go from zero to hero, noob to biddler and go through like a curated free 10-day intensive where folks like Vitalik and Austin Griffith and Patrick Collins are giving lectures and giving you the skills you need to either be like a smart contract developer or a front-end developer or a community person or a marketing person or a designer. You come in with nothing, except maybe if you're going for one of the technical tracks, like if you've ever used a programming language before, that'd be nice. And then you show up to ETH Denver after the 6 days of instruction and crush it and just join a team, do your idea, and get it out there. So to anyone who's like, I want to do this stuff, I want to be a biddler, I want to be a community person, get in there. And if you're like, oh, well, maybe I could get in there, but I'm actually nervous. And I'm like, great, you are exactly who I would like to apply to this program. So you can go to ethdenver.com/Camp Biddle, spell Biddle wrong, BUIDL, and apply. Apps opened last night, like super late last night, and it is now today morning. We already have 250 apps.
What?
We only have space for 250 people. Yeah, it's been 12 hours, evening hours. People were asleep. What did you think?
I misunderstood the apps. I thought like applications, but applications in a sense of people applying.
You mean like projects? No. Yes, that would be nice. We're looking forward to that day. My job hangs in the balance of how many projects get submitted at ETH Denver. So,
oof, sounds rough.
Not in a literal sense, but like that is the most important metric to keep an eye on at all times. Did you see the tweet? What? Why is that intimidating? You got to know your priorities. What are yours? What's your number one OKR at guild.xyz?
I don't know. Right now, it's number of communities, but we're going deeper this year. It's like depth of each admin's knowledge, I guess. Each community's like depth of using the tool. Mm-hmm. How successful they are. We just want them to be extremely successful, and we're just helping with some of it. So we need to know how deep they know what we can help with.
You don't want to optimize for shallow use.
No. That's going anyway. Like word of mouth is our strength, so that's going anyway.
You're telling me you just had your community call. How many people were on it?
1,200. It's okay.
Beam me up now. You're still here, aren't you? Beam me up now. How many people come to our community call?
Beam was there, so.
Beam was there.
Yes.
No, I'm not mad. I'm not jealous. Beam, I don't own you. What? We're not exclusive? That'd be crazy. That would make no sense. We moved the ETH Denver community call basically because Beam asked, because Beam attends the Tally Ho community call, which, to be a little more honest, he was like, well, if you change the timing slightly, then you could come be a guest on ours and then maybe encourage the people there to go over to yours. So we did that. But like the fun way of saying it is I love Beam so much that we moved the entire community calls timing.
Well, that's very wholesome and absolutely deserved it. And I feel like we did have some feedback already on our time zones. We did try to optimize for awake in LA, middle of the day in, Eastern time, evening in Europe, which is where I am. And then Asia falls out of the basket. If you're not up at 2 a.m., yeah, I don't know. I've tried to find a path that we can do sustainably as a team, which is in Europe, that has most. And since most of our audience is still in the US, that has to be in that. But it's a really difficult question. And that's why I'm planning on maybe trying out some diversity in the timing so that some events are actually like in the morning for me, which is most of the US is asleep or late night, but it's good for the east of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Might be cool.
Developer DAO is even explicit about that. They're like, here's the APAC region community call. And so it just like makes it that much easier to signal like, hey, like, please make sure you attend, because people that will be there will also be local to you, more or less. But by way of transitioning into the meat of what we want to talk about today, this is the second in our, I don't really love the term Marketing Tuesdays, but I don't need to set the table too much. Everyone here knows what we're doing, which is every day I dig into a different aspect of Buidling in Web3, front end, smart contracts, community building, design. And so today we pick up the torch in the community marketing lane, which is what we talk about on Tuesdays. Hi, Exodus. Good to see you. And I'm rejoined by Reka. Hi, Reka. Thank you for coming back. And
I'm back.
go ahead.
I'm just here every time.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of you co-host this segment with me essentially,
Yeah.
which is my dream come true. Like this
Aw.
was my excuse to hang out with you more often, and it's working. Uh,
It's worked. It worked.
Great. Um, I mean, we're very far away from each other, so it does take a good excuse to hang out.
Yeah.
Um, and I know you've got a lot of thoughts on community building. Please start at the beginning. What about you is relevant? Not like credentials, but like for people who aren't familiar with Reka.eth or maybe guild.xyz, sort of what's the context for you having experience and an opinion here? And then we can dive into some of the things that you think and some wisdom, best practices, do's, don'ts, that kind of stuff.
Sure. I love this is something I've identified that it's an extremely salesy American thing to do to always give credentials, and I actually love it. I think it makes it very, very relevant. But I've learned it from TikTok first, I think, or Instagram back in the day.
Yeah, for
And
sure. Like, why should I listen to you? You're about to give me
yeah,
advice in a long form format. Well, I'm going to sit here for 50 minutes. Like, convince me.
okay. So I've before crypto and anything, I've built organizations IRL and some internet groups as well. I'm a big organizer person um, for my peers, and that's been going on for a while. I also had a startup before, which is hell of a lot of free labor experience, and I've been building in crypto since 20 end of 2020, and I've been building guild for communities with communities since 2021. So it's been going pretty well. I feel like we have been acing the organic growth, community self organizing, community being engaged with what we're doing and doing the marketing has just been community for us. And our Twitter's, I think, 60K, I think, or around that. The Discord server that I manage right now with my dear community manager is almost 70,000. We do have still an attendance of over 1,000 people joining every week or every second week with our events. We're doing okay. Um,
You're doing more than okay. I'm so
and
happy to hear. It's all numbers, right? Like, who knows whether these people are having good experiences, but the numbers seem to indicate that word of mouth's getting around.
yeah, I'm trying. We're inherently a product community, so I do tend to think of numbers, but we do optimize for what value are we giving, and I'm going to be saying a lot about that today, about this like mindset essentially, because I feel like a lot of the community building is just how you approach it. You're fully the mindset of how you're doing it, and your success will fully depend on that. So I'm going to leave a lot of opinions and advice on that and my learnings from this past 2 years. Um, so we could also get into it. Yeah, let's go. Um, I can also just start with like learnings of what I've gathered from last year from building community and growing like crazy. Because last year we did experience 1 or 2 months where we grow tens of thousands a month, which is insane. It's there's bigger communities, but at once that's like doubling or your third of the community is added, which adds a lot of complexity of how you handle things.
That's a
Um,
very reasonable way of saying you probably had a few like oh shit moments there
yeah.
where things like exploded and you were like, we weren't ready for that.
Yes.
And so by way of like sharing advice, I'm super curious of the storytelling. Like I think this format lends itself like as you've synthesized your experience into do's and don'ts, like what were the experiences, like the raw moments where you were like, oh, this is how I came to form this opinion?
So, for example, a lot of experimentation, iteration is something that I would recommend doing and keep on doing. I can also phrase this as remaining this very stable unit, this entity that stands the test of time, because the other half that you're doing and somehow balancing these two out is that you're extremely moldable and experimentative and just going for new things and listening to the environment, the state of the space, your community, how well things are working. If you have metrics, listen to those as well. And the balance of these two, I would recommend. One example that happened to us that I came to this conclusion by is We are very close with the POAP team. They're great. And there was this event that we knew fairly on that's going to happen. It was the POAP art event. It's essentially like a time based community activation event where you can participate and you have, I think, every 10 seconds or every 15 seconds, you can paint one pixel on this giant canvas.
Okay.
And our community decided that they want to do this without us asking them. So they organized this little group that wanted to participate in this. So we were like, hell yeah, let's facilitate this. We opened a channel just for this, fully community space for this to happen and be organized. Um, went well, but after that event happened, which was lasted for an hour at some random November evening, that channel remains on your server. It's a good memory and it's fun to look back into, but it's redundant and you have to be as lean as possible as you can with how many channels you have open because it
Agreed.
gives a lot of brain fog. So we had to put that in the drawer. It's fun. It's a pop up thing. It can happen a lot of times, but that is interesting. Also, more on the experimentation is we last year we did introduce a new layer to our community that was like I like to think of our community as like concentric circles,
Hmm.
um, or like an onion, with lots of layers. But
Hmm.
the layers also have intersections with each other, whatever. So we introduced a new outer layer actually with this gigantic like fast growth that we had. We were like, whoa, 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 it ruined a little bit of the communication experience. So we did introduce an outside circle, and it went well. But we did realize we had to change a lot of things because, for if I remember correctly, our channel permissions with that were not too great, and the layer that we introduced still accessed too much, and it didn't serve its purpose. Like we wanted to have this like
Hmm.
entryway for those who would just like to come in. They just heard about this to find their way in later, but they don't have access to the full server yet, or even half of it, just the very general things. And we messed it up, and it was not like a good solution at first. We did not achieve our goal of having less um, I don't even know where I am type of conversations going on in the deeper layers.
Hmm.
So we had to switch. We had to change. We had to issue new requirements, new parameters, and rethink that whole thing. And then it worked. So it's you have to. Another point coming from this is reevaluating very often. It's what Hannah, my community manager, and I are doing so much. We do it, I think, like once a month ish on a regular basis or every 3 weeks, just going over like what's going on in the community, how can we rearrange things. Oh, and by the way, I'm most of the time talking about our server, but that's because that's our most prominent communication channel. But Discord is just a communication channel. We also have Telegram groups, Twitter, and all of that. But the majority of people can be reached in Discord. So that's what I'm focusing on. Um, but Telegram groups are a way different breed. Actually, it's much harder, I think, to do things there. But I love them, and I think incorporating the two at the same time is great. To
Yeah.
have bring some more concentrated conversations from Discord out into Telegram groups is great. Like how
Hmm.
we have our moderators or ambassadors, rather, the extremely motivated, very happy people that just love vibing with us and love being
Hmm.
there and are very, very helpful in the community. We named them knights and we gave them special roles.
Night.
We did decide to make a Telegram channel for them where we can. I'm much more active in Telegram. That's where I do most of my work, and they're like extremely important to me. And then I can reach them way faster and all the time. So these very concentrated conversations are better to happen in Telegram channels sometimes. Don't throw this idea away, even if it's crossing platforms. I'm all here for crossing platforms. That's one of Guild's vision, that it's much easier to do that. Um, yeah, so reevaluate very often because you might think that something's very relevant right now and you make changes in the community, in your structure, in your events, and conversation styles and even in emojis or just, anything really. And then if you just let it be for months and months, it might have bigger effects if you don't rethink and reevaluate and listen to the community and what their experiences regarding this.
Mm.
So I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Go back to the roots.
Yeah. I want to emphasize a few things that stood out to me as like things I'd strongly resonate with. Being intentional with the concentric circles. Like, this is not a new idea. This is how all communities work. Like, if you're new, then you stand. There's this term in academia, legitimate peripheral participant. Like, you're just literally standing on the walls being like, how do they do things here? Like, all right, I'm just watching, I'm just listening, scoping it out. Or maybe like you're a kid, you're like watching your parents like cook or like do some like traditional activity like play music. Like, you always start with just like, how do we do things around here? And then slowly like you'll get some responsibility, like, oh yeah, you need to like vacuum the house, kid, or like, hey, welcome to the Discord server, like go introduce yourself in introductions, and maybe you could give some feedback on this DAO proposal that's up, just whatever comes to mind, and like give people baby steps to more meaningfully be seen and contribute and be recognized, so then they can be like the core human need of feeling useful in the world and understanding your identity relationally to the other people who see your skills and appreciate them, and just be like, hey, who's that Derek guy? He's super useful. Come hang out more. That is the moment where you create stickiness. And it's also a genuine moment of human connection, because we need that, like to know that we belong. So I totally appreciate, like, just to zoom in on that idea, as we design community spaces, digital spaces, and have our hands tied by like the awkwardness of async text-based communication and Discord roles and authentication and captchas and so on and onboarding, overwhelming number of channels. Totally agree, like prune those channels. To think in very specific terms, like you tried out with your experiment. When somebody's day one here, what do they see? What are they exposed to? What are they reading? What are they invited to do? Who are they interacting with? And does that make sense as a UX? Because a lot of us make the mistake of just being like, no, we're a community. It's evolving. It's organic. Yeah, come on down. And somebody walks in day one and clicks the verify check mark and sees the 100 channels that you have in all the categories. And they're like, no. And they get blown out because they don't know where to start. Extremely common. So I appreciate that you're working on that. I appreciate that like Tavern Keeper is something we use over in the Spork DAO server. It accomplishes like a similar onboarding, role granting type qualitative experience with like copywriting, where it's like, community managers can just write whatever type quests they want. And so the user is like, oh, I only see this one channel. And it's like, welcome to the server. And they click it and it like shows them panes one at a time. Like, here's where you are. Here's what to expect. And then you can do multi-choice, like, do you want this role or that role? And then suddenly, okay, now the next layer of the onion. So totally agree with that. And I like, we're kind of in that middle zone of like how, like, okay, multi-platform, okay, community ambassadors, like experimentation, trying to see what works. But that's the middle of the story. I mentioned a moment ago one of my whys, like, what is community building? What does it mean to have a community, especially in an online format in 2023? So is there anything you see as like a pretty key foundational piece that a community either like lives or dies by in general, regardless of whether they have some common hobby or they're biddling something? Are there pieces of how humans connect online that you want to emphasize as like really foundational for folks to think about?
Two things that are my great, great big agendas right now, and I strongly believe and I want to bring more to light, is making being and participating in communities more of an experience, because we tend to focus on claim something, join somewhere, do this action, and then that's it, and then just talk about something. And I'm like, great, like that's not a community experience. That's me completing a task and then being somewhere.
Mm. Mm.
Make it more an experience. And I feel like what our approach to that is having points of events or like points of things where there's engagement. Other than that, is just merely a hangout spot if you'd like. You don't have to be there. It's a thing where we gather and share experiences together. There's actions involved, but then you go on your merry way on a different platform. You continue in a different group. a Discord server is not a community inherently, and making it more an experience also includes, I think, multiple platforms, multiple types of activities, multiple types of value add from your side as a builder, of what involving parts of the community and other things that you're doing, because you're not only just hanging out in that community and sharing that experience as well. You like the collective internet experience rather. Like, we can also hang out on Spotify and follow each other. Like, that's super fun. I would love to see what you're listening to when you're working out. Like those types of things that give more of a shared feeling and experience. I want to do that. I want to focus on that.
Yeah. May I plus one that? Will you remember the second thing? Okay.
Yes.
Because like that's why we're doing this. Like you, Reka, and I, Derek, are choosing to stream this right now because not only do we want to connect as two individuals, like I'm happy to see Pay the Toll again, who remembers that last time we did this, we made a joke about how we were having a feud. The answer is not great. The feud's not going great. I started this late. Reka was confused and frustrated. So update, feud's still happening.
It's
And then we
even
have
worse.
it's getting worse. And then we have people like Juan. Stop me if I'm wrong, Juan, but like you're fairly new to the community. I've seen you more recently, and so I've appreciated seeing you around. Space Falcon has joined and really been piping up over the last couple of weeks. He and I have been going back and forth over email about things he'd be really excited to contribute. And then Tippy 5-star just joined over from like Tippy, what kinds of like City DAO, where you've been doing like the Teach Anything series to like do community building. This is all like real individuals with real specific talents and skills they're excited to share one at a time, live. That is, I think, the cornerstone of community building. And I love the color of like seeing somebody what they're playing on Spotify or like just having lots of chats, because I get overwhelmed by the chaos. Like when you zoom out to 1,000, 10,000, 50,000 people in a server, in a community, you're at the emergent property level. You as community steward, like for example, I'm one of our community stewards, so is Tyler. Shout outs to Tyler. Like you can't know every individual. You're not the host of the party anymore. You're like interior designer of a space, of a playground in which people will have all kinds of interactions, and you're doing the best you can to thoughtfully shape the contours and affordances of the space so they meaningfully connect. That sounds fancy. What I mean is like, make sure you got a voice channel. If you don't have a voice channel, people can't talk to each other as naturally. So things like that. Anyway, I want to know what your second one is. I just wanted to hype on like the specific people I was seeing here that I was excited to see again.
I love that. I love the shout outs. It's very
Yeah.
wholesome. Second thing is, wait, actually, one more train of thought here is, so to emphasize or summarize what we were both saying is that a community is not stricted on one platform. It's us following each other around on different groups, different platforms based on our interests. That's it. That's what it is. And that is a group experience and an individual experience in one. Um, yeah, and there's a lot of more depths to it, of course, but I think that's what I mean by making it more of an experience, is emphasizing this fact of it. The second point was making it more a conversation as well, uh, which I feel like very much relates to the making it more of an experience type of vibe. But I do feel like we tend to look at it as I'm speaking, you're listening type of feeling in communities, or the auditorium type when someone who's brave enough or chills enough or just has something to a link to throw in shares, and then this like conversation is getting left behind, which I think should not be. And it's a harder task, it's extremely time consuming, but back to my point of interest base, if we manage, as you as the interior designer of this space manage to do a good job of contextualizing spaces, these conversations can still flourish. And I feel like this won't be as much of like, here's, I don't know, what I'm doing this week, and you just throw random announcements into pieces, into groups, into conversations, and then that's the whole conversation. Is a few brave, loud people just throw in announcements or their 2 cents. Instead, it can become more of a conversation. I think the first step of that is a lot of granularity in communities, based on interest, and these safe spaces that contextualize the whole thing. So these are
Yeah.
the two.
Yeah. We've talked about the contours, affordances, features of whatever platform you're on as a way of ameliorating that situation. Like, just to summarize, you're talking about like the default case being loud people, confident people tend to share their ideas more quickly and more consistently. And so other types of community members, if you're not designing in a thoughtful way, will consistently be heard less often. And so how can you design a space in a way that like provides other opportunities, other venues? Like, do you only talk in voice chat? Do you only talk in text chat? Are your text chats only this one channel or only this platform? Are you implementing Discord's new forum feature? How can you create like lower barriers to entry for folks to like share and be seen? That's at like a tech level. But then you also just said safe spaces. This also happens at a cultural level. Like, I think as an interaction we could zoom in on that like had me smiling because like it's so funny to me like where we are and like how we're as humans over in the Sporked Out Telegram, the main one. Somebody said, does anyone have a promo code for this particular event? I've been looking around and I can't find any. Now, I know they've said that every week for the last 7 weeks so consistently, and it's the only thing they say that I wonder if they're a bot. I assume they're a human. So I deleted all the previous ones. And then in response to the one that was most recent, I said, hey, doesn't seem like anybody does. This is a space for conversations relevant to this community, this event. I'm requesting you please not ask again here. The response I got was, chill, dude, just trying to find a ticket to the event. So I was like, okay, hit me with a chill, dude. And this is all very public. The reason I'm telling this story is it's in front of every single other person in the group. And the way that conversation plays out, especially how I show up, sets the tone of how I moderate, what kind of a space this is, what is and isn't allowed, and how I'm going to respond when a boundary gets crossed. Do I just shadow ban? Do I call them out publicly in a kind way? How do I respond when they're like, chill, dude? So it's all this happening in real time. I'm kind of making a mountain out of a molehill. But I'm like, okay, I've taught high school before. I know how to diffuse a situation with humor. So I just hit the reply was a gif from Emperor's New Groove where Kronk's going, right. Because I'm like, all right, like, that's the attitude you want to take? Fine. I'm just like walking away from this. But I think there's a couple pieces there that jump out to me. One is like tone. Like, not what you said, shared interests, right? Not what we talk about, but how do we talk about it? Does this have an inviting sort of culture? Like, when somebody's new here, are people like, welcome, tell us more about you? That's something you might want to set ambassadors up to do proactively. Or even over in Developer DAO, you wouldn't believe how good their system is. When somebody joins the server, they've got people watching who ping them and do a copy pasta of some boilerplate and then do a specific response to something they said in their intro, like, oh, welcome, Derek. Good to have you from Sporked Out. Excited to get to know you better. Something that's clearly boilerplate, but is useful information for me as a newbie. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Wow. And one of the things in there is join us for one of our weekly onboarding calls. And they set those up. They just sit there office hours style every week. And then people show up or they don't, but it's at that only that 1 hour. So it like is not all this one-on-one onboarding. And then I got to show up and be like, hi, everyone, I'm new here. And they were like, welcome. It's good to get to meet you. And this, how streamlined that was. Personal response with the boilerplate. People should be reading. People never read. Yeah, you're designing it poorly. People skim things. Like, you need to be more thoughtful about where you put the information. That's on you. And so I read it because it was in a personalized DM or like reply, even though it was copy paste. And then I showed up to the voice chat and suddenly I was like, now I know this guy, I know her. Like, I'm an old timer from like day 3. And to this day, I love Developer DAO. So I wanted to shout that out as a great example of tone and process and how they can meet to create culture.
I love that. Actually, it sounds incredibly labor intensive. That, I mean, in a sense that you should be live responding to everyone. If there's thousands of people joining per week, that's a kind of crazy. But other than that, I love that. And I feel like for us with our structure system and layers, doing that, but like one layer or 2 layers down should be the thing. I'm stealing that. I'll talk to Hannah if we can do this. I'd love to.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it's selects or like establishes such a much more like comfortable environment. Hmm. I love that. That's very
Mm.
important.
What could be at an even higher layer? Maybe something that's still intimate but not manual, like a 30-second video you create where it's like one or several community members just screen recording like a Discord where they're like, "Hi everyone, welcome. We're the team. Oh, look forward to getting to know you better. Go to this channel next." Like these are the kinds of things you're already saying in a Discord message, right? If you're thoughtful enough to be like having some type of orientation in your server, which I hope you do, like you and also the royal you. I hope all of us have a like, where am I? What should I expect? That goes beyond like channel names. So I think touches like that are time consuming, but just pay dividends because it's digital, right? Like you and I are recording this. Hundreds of people will watch this. Like we
That's
spend an
a,
hour recording it and
that's a confident
hundreds
bet.
of hours of human, like, you know what I mean? Like this is worth doing, in other words. It's labor intensive compared to writing tweets. If we sat down, we could write a lot of tweets in this time.
Yeah. But I do like I'm fully all for doing this actually. I already started thinking of like, oof, where and how should I send a DM with a video, like an embedded video personally for them, like, hi, welcome to the channel, welcome to the server. This is what you should be looking out for.
Did you ever experience that moment of internet culture? It's probably still going actually, where it was like of the e-bombs, albino black sheep, like early 2000s, late 90s. It was like you would put someone's face and name and it would automatically generate a very silly flash video where it'd be like happy holidays and it's just like you and your two friends faces overlaid on like badly dancing elves.
Excuse me. I did that. I It was so hard to find because I we did this holiday cheer when we for like 14 days posted something fun and whatever in our server for prepping everyone for the holidays and still giving something, you know. One of them was a video like that of me and and Hannah, our community manager. It was so hard to find how to do that. I thought this is a very common thing, and there's an app called Elf Yourself that gives you these like downloadable videos, which I ended up screen recording because you have to pay to to download it. So I screen recorded it.
That's the right click save as NFT counter argument, but for these videos, you just right click saved as the videos. Also, I forgot we're in Black Mirror now, and you can just generate avatars that are like, "Hello, Derek, and it's good to see you," and like say your name, but in the context of, I want the bad one. I want pre Uncanny Valley, where it's just like, "So good to have you, Derek," and it like continues the message, like where it's clearly overlaid. Like the fact I want to work really hard to pull off a bad version of this is what I'm saying.
Okay, well, I think bad is sometimes harder to make than good. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to do one more spin of your thought process because you initially think of the good thing naturally, and then you have to think
No, I
forward,
have
like, how
good
do I
news
do
for you. I
it
always start with the bad idea. So I don't. What brain do you have that starts with good ideas? That's wild.
um, I've maybe it's just very optimistic. Maybe I'm even worse,
I'm
but
telling you, I
it
throw out a
thinks
lot of stuff. Yeah.
it thinks about the good things first. I don't
So
know.
what are some other don'ts for community building and community maintenance, like common mistakes or I don't know, like friction that you see either at the design level or the interaction level or just people having their priorities wrong?
Mhm. I feel like one very big one is forgetting about certain parts of the community, certain layers, certain concentric circles. I don't know how else we're supposed to say it. I'm just gonna say layers. Think of a lasagna, please. Um, if you're hungry. It can be a veggie one too, lentils or walnuts, all of that. Anyway, so to forget about some of them, and this will show up if you do the reevaluation often enough, because you can get so overboard with um, like focusing on satisfying or giving value to like one persona within the community. Like doing a community call is good, but it doesn't really suffice for people who are just joining today. It's a more like we know each other type of vibe. Like it's a more in depth. So like to don't forget to focus on multiple aspects of the community at once and do value add for all of them.
This
And
goes for all biddling. Like if you're making any kind of app or product and the only people whose perspectives you're considering are the people making it, and you're like, how this is such a trope in Silicon Valley, right? Like you get a bunch of like young to middle-aged white guys together and they're like, so what hot thing are we going to make? And then you end up in I used to live in the Bay Area. Every time I drive through San Francisco, I play a game called B2B SaaS, where you look at every billboard and you sort it into two categories: a B2B SaaS product, a business to business software as a service product, like our CRM put smiles on customers' faces, or like automate your headaches, like those kinds of things, or everything else: iPhones, concerts, actual products individuals are buying or using. Shen Yun, and it's consistently over 50% B2B SaaS. It's about like 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10. And so, on the one hand, like that's just the way the market works. But what I'm saying is, don't be the trope. If you're building a community, don't only make it the kind of place you'd want to be. It's cool if it's the kind of place you'd want to be. Don't stop there, is what Reka is saying. And if you're making some kind of like project at ETH Denver, don't skip the stage where you're like, who is this for? What problem are they having? How can I help? Instead of just jumping to, whoa, wouldn't it be cool if you could put like Snapchat on the blockchain? Like, why?
it sounds cool.
Yeah, sure. That will get funded. I guarantee you VCs will fund that. But I just don't think it would be a good use of your time or a successful project. So if your goal is to be a startup founder, go put Snapchat on the blockchain. Sure.
If you want to be funded.
Yeah, if you want to take an app whose whole idea is impermanence and then layer it on a thing whose whole idea is permanence, good luck.
There's probably some loophole there that can be
Sure, you got
solved.
zero knowledge. You got fun stuff you could do with like hiding, revealing, time locking. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go. We'll be right back making Snapchat on the blockchain.
Add some social networking to it because that's the hot new kid.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot. Yeah, we're talking to Lenster right now. I'm gonna tweet that.
Ooh.
Okay, so we know that communities are granular onion lasagnas that have
Yeah.
layers that are granular, but also layers like a lasagna, and
I'm
that's
so in
tasty.
love with that comment. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
Tippy, we appreciate you.
It's everything that I'm saying in a sentence.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to be fair, like Tippy 5 stars paying close attention, and like you are an extension. Like I think one of the head shifts I'm trying to make is that my mom has been a salesperson her whole life, and I've got kind of a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to like being salesy, like hair slicked back, like, hey kid, I got a deal for you. And so now that I'm helping out with community building and marketing, I'm trying to find an authentic version of reaching out to people and trying to connect with them that doesn't feel like, all right, and retweet and tag 3 friends for this hot new giveaway. Like, I don't, that's not me. So, like, what is it? What it is like the last time you and I did this, unprompted, Beam Me Up Now made clips on YouTube and Twitch. Both platforms. Beam, you're crazy. Why didn't you just make 2 clips on the same platform? He wanted to play with it. And then he posted on Twitter and tagged us. We didn't ask for that. And that meant the world to me. So, do you have anything to say about leveraging community, this like new community marketing gray area that we're in, as you think about your onion and you think about Guild and its goals? Do you think about like, all right, the people at the outer layers, middle layers, inner layers, how can I tap them? How can I galvanize and empower them to be able to use their gifts to help out with this if they want to?
There's maybe two things or two different approaches. One is I want to make them as successful as possible. So I need a lot of input on their problems and what they need help with and stuff like that. So that's one that they could do and be more vocal about it because I feel like knowing what you need is very hard, but I'm a big believer that if you put it out there, it gets solved so much quicker. Um, if you ask for it, you shall receive kind of vibe. And I feel like we could be very helpful with that as well. The other thing, which is a very different approach, is that it's also one of the value adds that I'm thinking of because, I'm dabbling in content these days and trying to figure out how to stay ahead of the curve and all of that.
Do you want to plug that?
Maybe. We do.
It's a shadow project.
Yeah, it's kind of a shadow. It's an experiment, but we do have with LDF. My great friend and I are doing this experiment for 3 months. For ETH Denver is going to be the height of it. It's called Chaos. We do have a Substack. It's called Chaos is a public good .substack something. The Substack links, and we do experiment a lot of content production ways and how to do this sustainably in an engagement way, and produce a lot of content while we both of us still have full-time jobs like all of you do. And I feel like that's a big struggle for a lot of people to feel the need to create more content but have zero time to do it or very little time. So I want to find an efficient way to do it. And so we've been experimenting with that and writing about it and creating videos, trying out live streams and a lot of different products that the space has to offer, Web3 and also Web2. So that's fun. So that's my dabbling in content, but in general, you got to get comfortable with video at some point. Oh, thank you so much, Derek, for putting that there. Oh my goodness, what a host. So proud of you.
With pleasure.
And wait. So
I'm learning new tricks.
Because of this content dabbling, and I feel like more communications should be permanent and like permanence in content as well. Like it should be documented. That's extremely helpful, actually, if you document the right things. So what I was thinking, and I said this today on our little community call as well, is I'll try my best to do more documentation of the process of how we're doing community anyway. Like what decision makings are going on, the struggles, the like solution results, things that we need to change because there were fumbles, because we evaluated, what tools we're using constantly. One of our bigger things is support. How will we make support sustainable in the community, in our Discord or in our platform, wherever, without making it overwhelming for the people doing the support and also participants in our overall community to see all those questions. We don't want that. How do we make that happen? So I want to document this, do learning in public more. I feel like that's an extremely valuable thing to do. I would like to encourage all of you to do that more. It also makes you more prepared for what's coming in 2023 with content and media. So get in it.
Yes. As our mutual friend put it, every company is a media company. That's just kind of the way things work now. So cut to you and I. Are you in your home, may I ask?
Yes.
We're just friggin' live streaming from our homes. Like it's a 2023 post-COVID fully digital era where we like open our computers and then pipe ideas and our voices and faces to the internet. Like that's weird. We got here really fast. These things were not here 20 years ago, like culturally. Yeah. But I also wanted to give a shout out to Tyler, who I hate it when I pin comments and it like writes it out instead of actually doing that. Restream, I have feedback. But yeah, Tyler, as you were talking about support in particular, Tyler and I like felt a special part of our bodies react of like, yep, it's that time of year again. Because like we're currently iterating. I'll just like speak on that for a moment. We've tried no specific channel, like only general, and then general is full of a lot of questions. We've tried a general channel and a support channel. People do tend to get trained on that pretty easily. It's natural to go to a support channel, ask for a support question. But then they were all in one pile, and a lot of them were like, I need to give you my email or my wallet address, so we needed a layer of privacy. So we did a simple ticketing system bot in Discord. Tried that out for a while. Helped reduce the clutter, like you were saying, for everyone else. They don't see. However, that also had a disadvantage, in my opinion, that it removed the ability for people who are not like official moderators receiving the tickets to have visibility and the opportunity to answer the questions. Huge loss. Because again, to go back to something I said 20 minutes ago, if you ask a question and then Tippy 5-star responds with the answer before I even see it, like level 0 is like, phew, one less thing for me to do, and you move on. Level 1 is you reply to Tippy and say, Tippy, Thanks for being useful. I'm so glad you're here. That was a good answer. Appreciate you. Level 2 is you implement like Quidlybot or something, and you tip him your community's ERC20 on the spot. You just airdrop the man like your token, and you're like, here's a 100 spork. Boom. And then suddenly people light up like, being helpful gets me a token. I'll be helpful. And like it's the POAP people, the people that are like, I want a digital collectible, and they'll do anything. So you just incentivize like being a nice, helpful person. And then they're like, how do I get more? And it's just like when you ring the bell and the dog starts salivating Pavlovian response. Like when they see support questions, they're like, I got to answer it. And I was like, great. This is a good game theory. You have a kink for being airdropped ERC20 tokens, and I love it. And I'm here to support it and encourage it.
I loved how you just said that and you like shook the table as well, like the emphasis. Oh, it's
Yeah, clip
amazing.
it. Beam, clip me saying the thing about kink for ERC20 tokens. Yeah. Oh, hi, Television Tunnel Vision. Who are you? Are you in the Discord? I don't recognize your name. Who are you? This is the nice thing about
I'm
having
here.
super small community calls and streams is I could just get everyone to know. I get like Juan Geraldo, for example. No, Juan, there's no POAP for this. I'm not trying to incentivize you watching this. This is already valuable. And I'm being teasing, but this is something that I came to appreciate. Like you can make POAPs for anything, but should you?
I mean, it kind of comes to what you said about incentivization. Also, 5 announcement or 5 minute mark.
Oh, thank you, Five.
Yeah. Um, that I think that is something that barely takes you anything to prepare. For us, it's even easier because we do it through Guild because we have an integration with that, so it's even faster and distributes better through the Discord. But you do have to prepare a graphic and
Find
like
out more on
ask
guild.xyz.
or message me
Yeah,
anyway.
or just say
Um,
hi.
there's more than 70,000 POAPs distributed with this system so far. It's been successful. Anyway, so it's something that barely takes you any time. It's free and it gives like it's a token of appreciation. If it's farmed, it's farmed. Sometimes it's I don't care. Like you've been here. You've been here the whole time. You did what I wanted you to do. I just wanted you to come, be happy to be here. You did that. Here's a little token of appreciation. Thank you. And then it's kind of like the first version of your ERC20, which I think is a little bit more serious. Um, and I think it would be nicer to even distribute something that's quicker to get. POAPs are a little bit of a hassle still.
Yeah,
Like it
right.
takes you a minute. It takes you a minute. They're not too hard to get or request, but it takes you a minute. It would be nice to have something that's easy with something in between.
How about this? Memes. I think that one aspect of this that was invisible to me at first, but which has since become like hyper explicit as something people can do. If I'll start with us, we're ETH Denver. We've got weird mascots like the Buffacorn and the Spork Marmot. We've got memes like to biddle something or to spork my code. And so to instantiate those at the community level requires using them all the time. I have to say biddle 100 times for somebody to say biddle instead of build, right?
Yeah.
And to the extent you can accelerate that process with, platform dependent, you got your emojis, you got your stickers, you've got GIFs, you've got other like meme formats that already exist that you can just use that if you're lazy. I've seen that. In my opinion, it's a little cringe to just like do like, get in loser, we're biddling the decentralized future. And it's the like them in the cars. It's like, okay, but like this took you like 30 seconds to make in a generator. There's no heart here. Whereas like a buffacorn, like having our graphic designer make like a buffacorn with like heart eyes so that when people want to do a heart eyes emoji, they can use our version of heart eyes emoji instead. Like these types of little things come together to create like, to come back to our example and like shut up. If somebody's useful to somebody else, I can just be like, thanks so much, Tippy, and then be like a custom meme of like gratitude and vibes. And so rather than airdropping an ERC20, rather than sending a POAP, I'm still sending them something. It's this little image or something, but it's more than text is what I'm saying.
I like that. That's very cute. Aren't you a very, very wholesome community manager?
Yeah, no, I'm a nice person. I'm a nice. Everyone in the chat, say it. Derek, you're nice. Say it right now.
I
Say it, or I'm
actually
banning you from this channel.
I took like 3 pieces of notes from this. So
I
this
hope
was
they're I hope they're time stamped because we're clipping this later.
they
Thank
were more
you.
like overarching. One of them was leaving general support open as well, like
Mm,
opportunity for that. I think
mm.
we have that to some extent, but keep that in mind. The other that you said was really nice is I like the interior designer analogy of like you're creating the spaces. And also this was pretty useful that the like customized images as like tokens of appreciation are also pretty cool. I also like
Yeah.
receiving them, so I agree.
For example, Telegram sticker pack. It's kind of hard and complex to pull off, but there's bots where you just submit all the JPEGs and with names, and then it's a sticker pack, and then you use it in all different kinds of Telegram chats. And then when someone sees it, they can download the sticker pack and use it in all different kinds of Telegram chats. So its ability to spread memetically is way more powerful than on Discord, you can only use your emojis in other servers if you have Nitro, which most people don't. So there's something in there about the I think the term is K factor, like how quickly something spreads. It's like a startup term. But I want to be respectful of your time because I was not at the beginning, and so I'll attempt to be at the end. Thank you, Reka. This has been fun. I look forward to the next one. If people
Thank
want
you.
to get in touch with you, how would you like them to reach out?
On Twitter, I'm Reka.eth. Text me, or what is it? DM me
Reka
or tweet.
underscore ETH.
Yes. But
Mm-hmm.
you can also find me as Reka.eth because that's my name and the Twitter handle is Reka
Oh,
underscore eth.
I stand
It
corrected. My
works
mistake.
both ways.
I tried to mansplain your
Um,
own Twitter handle to you and was embarrassed.
no worries. Here to clarify. love the comment. So thank you for being here. Thanks for having me. We're doing this ever so often, so we can talk more about learnings and everything. So
I've opened a support channel called The Stream Itself. Tippy 5-star tried DMing you. It didn't work. Do you have DMs turned off for if they're not following you on
no,
Twitter or
I
what?
have they go into message requests,
Oh,
but
okay. So it
that's
did
how to see
work,
it
but
happens.
she's you know, pocket videoing.
No,
Yes.
actually, it doesn't. I don't see your DM in the requests either. Did you DM me
Message
on
failed
Twitter?
to send. Super weird.
Hmm,
Hmm.
interesting. Maybe it's
Hmm.
internet. I
He's
don't
at
know.
Elon. Okay.
At Elon.
You got a couple new followers, and that's how you
Woo!
do it. And now, wait, follow me. Yeah. Oh, wait, that's funny. I was going for the joke. Juan was doing it sincerely. And everyone, of course, let me do my little caption. I know you gotta get going here. It is Twitter. Oh, I just did Ethereum's like ETH Denver's by muscle memory, and then I had to correct it. Did I do this right? Is that how
Typical.
you write this?
The Derek. There we
Did I
go.
do that?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm new here.
Hi, I'm new to the internet.
Yeah. Hey, I in 2009, I thought it was a cool idea for my Twitter handle to be "I'm the Derek," and now I am stuck with that. So go ahead and give me a
Good.
follow. This has been Derek Wants Followers. Thank you for joining us. Uh, yeah, really, thank you. And I hope we do this in about a week, maybe.
We'll schedule. We'll announce.
We'll announce. We'll both announce because you have a few more followers than we do.
Let's do it.
Let's Venn diagram these communities. Okay.
Yeah.
Until then, thank you again and have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Bye bye.
He found the the last thing. Have you been to Berlin much?
Yeah.
Do you know Berghain?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tell a quick story. This is an outro story. I was in a car going to Sisyphus, one of their venues, and I'm sitting next to someone much cooler than me. I had just met, and he says, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah, get into Berghain." And I turn and completely sincerely I say, "Oh, I heard Berghain was cool on Reddit." And the 5 people in the car go silent and are like, "Did you just say that?" And I look around and I'm like, hey, everyone, if you could do me a favor and never tell anyone that just happened. And then I realized it was funny, and now it's my Twitter bio. I heard Berghain was cool on Reddit. So that's my little story. I'm a nerd. I'm new
I
here.
love that. I
Yeah,
love that.
I kept you too long. Goodbye.
Bye. Have a great one.
Bye, everyone.